Laura Ray, and I'm here with the worst, I mean the worst, hot new foundation. Now, the products I'm going to share with you, they have different names. They don't say foundation on them, so I want to clarify that. The two I'm going to show you is first the e.l.f. Camo Hydrating CC Cream, and the second one is the CoverGirl Simply Ageless Skin Perfector Essence. Now, both of these are skin products that are supposed to perfect the skin. The one from e.l.f. has sunscreen in it. And that was one of the worst things for me was I'm very sensitive to scent. And this one has a very strong sunscreen scent that almost instantly plugged up my nose. I did this for a YouTube short. I was planning to do a wear test and I couldn't get past a few minutes. The scent was just overwhelming. I was getting more plugged up and I had a dental appointment and I didn't want to go and not be able to breathe through my nose. So I went and washed it off. But this I had such high hopes for. I didn't have really good luck with the first CC cream that they came out with because none of the shades really worked for me. So I had hoped this would be a big improvement, but unfortunately it just looked horrible on me. It made my skin look very heavy. Every pore looked worse. Every fine line looked deeper. And sort of the same thing with this. Now, this didn't make my skin look heavy at all. What happened with this is it just was very shimmery looking and just highlighted every fine line and made my skin look very just shiny. And I don't like that kind of finish on my skin. I really prefer a satin finish. Matte looks too dry, but then some of these dewy foundations look too much. So I like somewhere in the middle. So this one didn't work either. But what we're going to do today is I'm going to put both of them on my whole face. I'm going to apply the e.l.f. Camo Hydrating first so you can see what it looks like on my skin. Then I'm going to go wash it off and put on the CoverGirl for you. So let's take a close-up look at my skin before I start. As you can see, I have fine lines in the forehead. I even had those when I was younger. I just have a very expressive face, and I'm always lifting my brows like this. So over time, I've developed lines there. And I have some fine lines right here in the under eye. I do have discoloration around the nose. I've always had problems with allergies and stuff, so I rub my nose sometimes, and I've created some broken capillaries here and stuff like that. I don't have too much discoloration in the cheeks. I have a little bit here where the sun hits on the cheekbone, and a little bit down in the chin area. So if I put on a tinted sunscreen, then usually that looks pretty good with maybe a powder mixed with it, or I love the MAC Face and Body. I've worn that for a long time, and that looks really pretty on my skin. But I don't like anything too heavy anymore, and most women my age, from the comments that you leave me at least, feel the same way. So I was hopeful for this. It has a broad spectrum sunscreen of 30. Now I noticed some of the ingredients that they have for sunscreen don't usually work for me. Sometimes I get a reaction. Now this says apply 1 to 2 pumps to clean skin for an airbrushed finish. So that sounded perfect. It said full coverage, long lasting. So I was hoping I wouldn't need any kind of concealer. And a dewy finish, and they actually put mushroom in it and hyaluronic acid, and I love hyaluronic acid. So let's do 1 pump to start. And you can see it's not runny, but it's not over the top thick either. So I'm going to take this brush because this is an amazing brush. It's the Nikki LaRose and it's the N17. And the reason I wanted to use this is because when I use this, I get such a beautiful application with foundations I already own. So if it's going to look good, it's going to look good with this brush. So let's just go in. I'm going to go in very thin here on the skin. Now it looks a little light right now, but I found that the shade match actually looked pretty nice. And the one I chose was light neutral, number 205. I do well with neutrals. I am more of a neutral tone skin, and cool shades don't look great on me, and then the warm is too orangey looking. So neutral tends to work well. And I'm going to do like I do with other foundations and sort of lift the forehead so I don't get too much into the fine lines. And as you can see right now, it's looking pretty good. It's a little shiny for my liking. I would want to definitely put some powder on that. Now already I'm smelling like I'm covered in sunscreen at the beach. And the sunscreens I buy don't have that smell because I can't stand that smell. So if the sunscreen smell doesn't bother you, hopefully you all know what I mean by sunscreen scent, then maybe that part of it wouldn't irritate you, but it definitely irritates me. Now, I'm just going to do half the face right now so you can look at how my skin looks with it and without it. And then I'll apply to the whole face. So there you go. I have about a half of a pump left, and they say 1 to 2, but obviously that would not be enough sunscreen for me to wear outdoors. But right now, it looks pretty nice. But what I found is as I was talking, what I did when I did my test on this, I was doing some housework. So I went and did some housework, and while I was talking to my husband, I looked in the mirror afterwards and I could see it starting to collect right here in these lines, and it definitely was collecting in the forehead lines as I started moving my face. So let's go ahead, now that we've seen before and after, let's go ahead and put it on the other side. And what I did like about this, I mean, it felt fine under the eyes. Now, I don't know, maybe over time that scent would have irritated my eyes. Sometimes that scent does, but it didn't that day because I had it on for such a short time. I'm going to put another pump of it. But I didn't like this much shine. I would need to really powder this to get a look that I would be happy with. And then the problem with that is you're applying so much product. When you're my age, I'm almost 60, it's just too much for the lines. It just really makes the skin look very heavy and wrinkled. So maybe this would look better, to be fair to e.l.f., on someone that was younger than me, had really smooth skin. But I would think this is sort of also marketed to women my age, because a lot of women my age buy a CC cream. I know that I've tried many, and a lot of you write me which foundations and things you love, and you usually mention some kind of CC cream. So I have used the 2 pumps, which again would not be enough sunscreen, but this does have a 30 SPF in it. And I'm bringing it down to the neck. And maybe I could have gone a little darker than I did. I got light because last time I got a light shade, and when they first came out with the original camo, the color was so off. It was so much darker than I thought it was going to be. Then I bought one that was lighter, and it was lighter than what I needed. Finally, I gave up because I just didn't really like the look of it anyway. Now that I'm raising my brows and doing the things I usually do, look at how this looks. Now that's a line I don't usually notice, and it's really sticking out. Look at the under eyes. And then look in here, there's product collecting. I'm going to straighten the line out so you can see. The product is collecting. See how it's collecting here in the skin. So one thing I could do is do a sponge over it. So I'll try that to get product off. Now I put the recommended amount. And again, I wouldn't count on this for sunscreen because this I would think is great for a little extra, but not enough for sunscreen. So I'm just sort of rolling the sponge to try to get some of it off to see if maybe that's just too much product for me. I still see so much shininess, and I just don't like the way, look at how the pores are showing in here. And in here, I never even noticed those pores. Boy, this is really making me feel bad now. And look, just even lines around the mouth area. This looks very heavy. I don't even usually notice that. And it's just the way the light is hitting. It's just making everything stand out. It stands out so much more than other foundations that I use from the drugstore that I love. The Catrice True Skin, that looks beautiful on my skin. Just so many that I try that I love, but this just isn't working. And I don't know, the smell this time isn't seemed to bother me as much, maybe because I haven't worn it long enough, but initially the scent was very strong and that was off-putting for me. So let's take one final look at the e.l.f. I just don't think most women my age would be happy with this. Like I said, maybe for a young person in their 20s that doesn't have fine lines and wrinkles, but even women in their 40s, a lot of them are concerned about that. And I just think this makes my skin look worse. It doesn't improve the skin because I don't want to look at my lines standing out even more than they normally do. That's not a look I'm going for. And like I said, all this in the under eye here, that looks much worse than normal. So I'm just not happy with this one. Let's finish up and I'll go wash my face and try on the CoverGirl. I'm back and I wanted to say that, I don't know why nobody's saying this, but I want to put it out there. What is happening with how expensive drugstore makeup has become? I paid $15, I think, for the e.l.f. and almost $22 for this CoverGirl. That is so much money. Think of it. That's what we used to pay at like a department store for a foundation. So that's why I feel it's so important for me to do this review because that's a lot of money, at least to me it is. And, I got some flack the other day on one of my shorts because one of the products I used, it was a lip stain, wore off and got in the cracks of my lips, just on the regular part of your lip. Just like anybody, we all have lines in the lips, even young people do. And somebody left a comment, well, it's your fault. You have lines in your lips. And I meant on the actual lip itself. And I didn't feel it was my fault because I try lots of lip stains that don't get in every crack of the lip and wear off other places. So anyway, I just feel like I love so many e.l.f. products, but I have to be honest. I don't know why people don't appreciate honesty because that's just my opinion, my experience. You might have a different experience, but I feel it's still worth putting it out there. So buyer beware. I review so many products. I test out so many things. And even now when I went in the bathroom, my skin looks so heavy. Of course, going into different lighting, just all the pores I didn't even know were there that would be that noticeable were showing up. So I'm just being, truthful about my feelings about the product because if you're going to go out and spend $15, I want you to be happy with what you're getting. So let's go into the CoverGirl. There's so much talk about this being a dupe for a Chanel product. I've never tried the Chanel. I would like to. Maybe I'll do that, but so we can compare. But I definitely think the Chanel would not be like this because this just didn't work well for my skin. Let me show you how it looks when you pump it out. Now, this is a whole different texture than the e.l.f. You can see how runny it is. And this, they say to apply with your fingers. This says that it's a makeup hybrid with microdroplet technology. and pigments in it mixed with an essence. So that sounded like my jam because I use essence every day as part of my skincare. So when you put it on, it looks like that initially, but then you start pushing it in and it turns into the foundation, which I thought was really, really cool. So I'm going to do this a little bit, and then I'll go over it with my Nikki LaRose brush. So I'm just rubbing it into the skin. And what I saw with this one was just, it was highlighting every pore, every wrinkle. It just wasn't friendly for somebody my age. Now, there might be 59-year-old or 60-year-old women with no lines and wrinkles, but I'm not one of them. So when I'm trying a product out, I'm looking for something that makes like hyperpigmentation and discoloration in the skin go away, or at least diminish. Yet I'm walking that fine line. I don't want, no pun intended, my lines to look worse. I don't mind them looking the same, but I don't want them looking worse. So I'm almost done here with this side. And let's just I'm going to brush off the brush a little bit, make sure I don't have any other foundation on it, and just dab over it so that it's a little more smooth. Now, at first, I thought this was perfect. And I thought, wow, I think I've found a new favorite. This is amazing. And then what happened as the day went on is it wore off in spots. I have my short on the channel if you'd like to watch it. That way you could see the wear test. But what happened in the wear test was this area sort of just went away as the day went on. And it wasn't a long wear test. It was probably 6 or 8 hours, not like a 12-hour wear test. And it started collecting in these lines here. And some foundations will do that. Others that I wear don't collect in the air at all. Now, I will do like I do normally, stretch the forehead and sort of brush it out like this. Any lines that I have, that does help. But what I saw was as I wore it, it started collecting in those lines again. Now you can see the shininess in it. It's very shiny. And what I'm noticing is this whole area that I usually try to smooth out because there are more pores there. That's where I had a very oily T-zone growing up. I dealt with acne. So my pores show up. They're not like other people that have totally smooth skin there. This is where most of my texture is. That's really showing. And I can see that the makeup's even getting into the pores. And some of you write me about that. You say, what do you do about makeup that like sits in a pore? And that's what's starting to happen here to me. Now, maybe I could apply a primer underneath and that would help. But my personal opinion is you shouldn't have to apply a primer to make a foundation work. If it makes it look even prettier, fine, but it should work on its own. So I'm going to go ahead and apply to the other side of my face, and we'll take a look at the whole look. But let me know your feelings. If you've tried this, I would love to hear what you think about it. I do love the lightness of it. Like I said, I wanted this to work so bad, especially since I spent almost $22 on it of my own money. So just like you, I get frustrated if I spend money and it's a fail because what am I going to do? I really don't like taking makeup back, and a lot of places don't accept it back, but others do. I've rarely taken any product back. I just feel like I don't want the other consumers to have to pay more because that's what they do. They jack the prices up when there's a lot of returns on an item. Okay. So I think that's pretty good. I'm going to use a brush for my nose. I like a little more coverage here. So I'm going to put a little more on. I do like that you can go in the under eye, and I wouldn't put any concealer on if I use this like this. So I think that part looks really good. But I'm going to sit here a minute and let it sort of dry down so you can see. But the other thing I want to mention is the shade I got. And this is light medium, number 30. And I wouldn't want more than this. I'm sure it would look just too dark on me. So this is the closest match that I can get to my own skin. And it matches my neck pretty well. And I try to match the neck and the jawline. And this matches. And once I put color on, if I had some blush, some bronzer, it would definitely warm the whole face up and make it look a lot better as far as matching and looking good on the skin. Well, what I'm seeing right now, these lines don't normally stand out, and they're really standing out. And in here, the pores, the shininess. Now let me smile and see how my crow's feet look. To me, all this, and I can already see it collecting and being more noticeable here. I have other foundations that I use in the under eye, and you really don't see the little tiny fine lines that I have very much. Now let's take a look. Again, it's collecting in this wrinkle, and look at here. See all of the product collecting? So even though I've dabbed here a couple of times, it's like back at it again. So maybe because it is an essence and it's a little more emollient, it's moving and migrating into the wrinkles. So this one just didn't work for me either. By the way, I wanted to mention what's on my lips today. It's the NYX Fat Oil. I just think this is such a beautiful product. It's the shade Supermodel, and it just gives me a little bit of color. It's so hydrating. If you like really thin product on your lips, you won't like this because there is that feel that it's on the lips, not super heavy, but it does feel, you can feel it on your lips. So if you don't like that, you wouldn't enjoy it, but I really love it. I sometimes use it as an overnight mask too, because it's thick enough where it will last all night. But I hope this was helpful to you. I just don't like having you waste any money. When I bring a product to you, I want it to be something you're going to love and enjoy and wear and really get your use out of it. So if you do like reviews like this, please give it a thumbs up so I'll know, or just send me a heart in the comments and I'll know that you enjoyed the video. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, I'd love to have you here. I have so many great videos ahead planned for all of you, and I wouldn't want you to miss any. We have such a great community of women here. The things that you all say in the comments are so helpful, not only to me, but everybody that's reading the comments. So I want to welcome you here if it's your first time. I wish all of you a blessed week. I'll look forward to seeing all of you real soon.